The Black Dahlia murder has a new album out in September, so what better time to cover their discography than now? As with all my fresh discographies, there's obviously a disclaimer that I had not heard pretty much any of these albums before doing this, which means I wasn't really aware of what albums people like and what albums people don't like. So there could be some hot takes, there might not be. It took me way too long to get to this band, so let's find out which album's the best. I'm not really the biggest fan of the debut, let me tell you why. In fact, let me just start by saying I'm just really not the biggest Melodeath guy, which is half the reason I'd never really gone to this band. And I've got to praise TikTok for making me venture into bands and genres I'd never touch if it weren't for recommendations and stuff. I really just am not the biggest fan of the riffing style they use on this. Yeah, I get it was their first effort, they were young, they're just sort of going for it. And that's evident in the production as well. The production's filthy, it's really raw, crunchy. I love the production on it. But I can't help but feel like a lot of the riffs are very repetitive and this album tends to blend together as you go through it. The riffs sometimes sound very metalcore-y, like do 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 do, and the next song will be like do 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 do. Obviously it's not what the songs sound like, but that's how it sounds to my ears. And I'll be honest with you guys, I kind of got bored of it as I got through it. It really put me off this band because I listened to this and thought, man, the rest of this discography is going to be a hard fucking listen and it's not going to be an easy one. That obviously changed. But what didn't change is that this still is my least favourite album. I don't think I'll go back to this. Deflorate just kind of exists to me. It didn't actively make me not want to listen to it or get bored like Unhallowed, but I don't think it really did anything crazy either. The riffing's fine, the production's good, it's fine, it's nice and modern. Songs are relatively polished. The album length is pretty decent at 34 minutes, I'm happy with that. But it did just kind of breeze past me and didn't make too much of an impression. I've got down here as the songs I did like, Thrones of Lunacy and That Which Erodes the Most Tender of Things. They're the ones I put on my notes. Thrones of Lunacy especially. Very similar story with Ever Black, I'm sorry guys. But I did prefer the ever so slightly darker atmosphere to these songs. Especially Absolute Ripper, Go of Departure. That was a great track. I've also got down that I really enjoyed the vocals in this record. I think overall I'm not the biggest fan of Trevor's high vocals, other than very select cases, which I'm sure I'll talk about soon. But I am a fan of his low vocals. I really like the way they sound. And on this record I think they sound great. Particularly at the beginning of Phantom Limb. I'm not going to say the rest of it. TikTok's strict, But as an overall package, it still kind of just breezed past me. I listened to it, I was like, that was a cool album, but I don't see myself returning to it. On to the albums I actually quite liked. Their latest release is interesting because it's a much more spacious, slower, simpler record. The technicality's still there, but dialed back from many of their previous releases, in favour of a brooding, very addictive atmosphere. Especially on songs such as Child and Night, that's a fantastic track. A Womb in Dark Chrysalis into Dawn of Rats, I really love that interlude into that song. Just a really unique feel for this record, and I appreciate that a lot. Especially after going through these records in chronological order. I can see a lot of people being really happy with this release. Next up is Miasma, and I really enjoyed this record. And it was a massive change of pace for me compared to the debut, because there's a distinctly darker tone and atmosphere to this record. And to me it kind of felt like everything that went right for me on Unhallowed is just kind of focused on and dialed to 11 in this record. The riffing doesn't resemble that repetitive metalcore thing anymore. It's distinctly harder, it's distinctly heavier. Straight from the get-go, Built for Sin kind of sounds like a later era Cannibal Corpse song. And the second I heard that I was like, whoa, okay, I see. It's just a much more inventive use of melodic riffing compared to Unhallowed. Again, I still respect the debut and I understand it was still their first outing, but the upgrades in songwriting made me appreciate this album much more. And well, everything I just said about Miasma compared to Unhallowed, you can say for Nocturnal compared to Miasma. Everything that made Miasma good is focused on and dialed to 11 in this record. This record kind of gives self-titled energy. There's a massive hit on this record with What a Horrible Night to Have a Curse, Castlevania reference. And yeah, that song's fantastic, and it was the only song I knew before going into this discography. Production isn't quite as raw and distinctly heavy than Unhallowed and Miasma, but it feels like they dialed that back for a reason to allow for more of an overall atmosphere to be created. And the melodies in this record really seem to drive a sense of progression for each song. Really fantastic record, I can't fault it too much. I just prefer the ones above it. These top 3 albums I distinctly loved and will be coming back to. Ritual is so fucking sharp, dude. I love the sense of variety within the riffing on this record. It just feels so focused. Everyone was just fucking balls to the wall, firing all fucking cannons at this one. All guns blazing is the saying I was thinking of. And this album really taught me one thing I can really appreciate: Melodeath. And that's the fucking goddamn soloing. Jesus. Quick disclaimer, I know this isn't the only album that has good soloing, but this is one of the albums where I really fucking enjoyed it. Like, I love the type of riffing that they use for the rhythm during the solos. It's like you got all these melodies come like counter melodies from the rhythm guitar to the lead. It all just meshes so well. This is an album that does that fantastically, but not as good as the next one. Really enjoyed Ritual. I've saved this one and I will come back to it. Nightbringers? This album's good, guys. This album's really fucking good. Remember what I said about like the choice of riffs underneath the soloing and the soloing itself? This album gave me goosebumps. This album blew me away. Like Widowmaker, like when that solo comes in, it's like so fucking atmospheric, so evil. I love it. You guys know when it comes to death metal, I like things to sound sinister. I like things to sound really evil and fucked up. I think this is one of the albums that really best demonstrates how you can be like super melodic and catchy, but still having that sinister undertone to it. Production as well here is like really modern, but it's not overproduced. It's really just focused, sharp, sounds crunchy. Really fantastic record. Another song I got down is Matriarch with that fucking riff where it's like dan, 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 dan. It's like fucking sick. The way it meshes with the drums, man. Nightbringers is so good. It didn't top Abysmal though. Oh man, I have been playing this album non-fucking stop. Took me ages to even get to Nightbringers and their most recent release because I just couldn't put this one down. Man, if I'd fucking started with this record instead of Unhallowed, I'd have been done with this ranking like fucking a week ago. I kind of look at this album the same way I look at Experience Your Flesh by Benighted. Every song just has so much personality just bleeding from it. I have got down for my favourite songs from this record: Receipt, Abysmal, Fret Level Number 3, The Fog and Advent. Like, that's a lot of songs. I mean, I love the whole album, but those were the songs that are really on repeat. Fret Level Number 3 even has a slam in it, and, you know, with Trevor's high vocals, it almost kind of sounds like early Suicide Silence with, like, Mitch Lucker's vocals. These songs are just paced brilliantly. I love the songwriting on them. Massive sense of variety, fantastic production, the artwork kicks ass. This is probably my favourite albums from the last couple of fresh discographies I've done. I'm probably going to buy a t-shirt of it. I fucking loved it. Yeah, GG guys, this is getting the gold medal.